Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing Week 2 in the NFL right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com doing the cleanup games this week, the games that no one else wanted to take, and Philly-Indy is one of those games, a Monday night game, kind of an interesting handicapping situation. We'll see what Joe has to say about it. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, so before we get to it, give a plug for OffshoreInsiders.com and tell everyone how well you've done this year in football overall.
Yeah, no, we did have a winning week last week, college and NFL combined, and I know that most people, it was a bloodbath coming off a winning preseason. More importantly than that, if you're caring about long-term, most people that care about long-term are already with us, but if you somehow haven't heard of me going back to the Scorephone days, get my picks now at OffshoreInsiders.com, full-time professional handicapper since 1988.
All right, Joe, Philly and Indy, and Indy's a 3-point home favorite Monday night, totals 53.5, and, you know, this is kind of an interesting matchup. Indy's definitely a flawed team, right? They have some issues in the run game, in the pass rush. Philly, though, you know, they went down 17-zip or whatever it was against the Jags, and they came roaring back in the second half. But, you know, if you're a team that finds yourself down that early to the Jags, you're going to be vulnerable to being down that early to better teams in future weeks, and it's going to be a lot harder to come back against other teams. That, to me, looks like a very bad sign for Philly. Until further notice, I'm thinking about either betting against them or passing. And as flawed as Indy might be, you know, certainly far from a perfect team, I think in light of how Philly's game went down last week, and they're having a lot of injuries on the offensive line, I think for me the play has to be Indy -3, but I'm not sure if I'm liking it enough to bet it. Do you agree with that, Joe Duffy?
Yeah, no, the Eagles are probably going to be minus two offensive line starters, including Evan Mathis, who is a Pro Bowler. Now, you know, it's sort of a catch-22. Chip Kelly said, well, the benefit of his system is where they rotate a bunch of offensive linemen. That means that their backups are more prepared than most teams' backups. I agree with that. But when you have the backups moving up, then you run so many plays, it actually means that you don't have the depth. So I think if anything, you could see how Chip Kelly, I don't expect him to play at his snail's pace to completely change the pace this week, but you could see how he might tone it down just a little bit. And remember, to Chip Kelly's credit, he made adjustments last year. I, among everybody, thought that the lock of the century was going to be that the Eagles would lead the league in offensive snaps, and it looked early like it was going to be that way. But Kelly does make adjustments, and the fact that he's -2 offensive linemen, I think that he will. As you said, the scouting report on the Colts is they've got a tremendous quarterback, they've got a good group of wide receivers. Their running game's very shaky. Even though Ahmad Bradshaw looked pretty good, he was a little bit used more as a receiver. Now, granted, if you're being used as a receiver, that may be a good play for the over, but I actually like the under here. I just don't think that Indianapolis has as much versatility on offense. Plus, I look for Philadelphia to slow down the pace. Went to the computer, and I use quite a few databases, but here's one that stretches all the way back to 1978, when you have a team that averages more than 400 total yards per game. Now, granted, we're one game into the season, but when you run it, it doesn't vary as the year goes on. And they have a turnover rate of -2 or worse. It's going. It's actually been a case where it's going under 43 and 18, and in a very rare case where it applies to both teams, and that angle applies to both teams in this game, it is going under all 4 times that it is applied since 1978. So this is only the 5th time that you have 2 teams averaging more than 400 total yards and with a turnover ratio of -2 or worse. And every time that's applied, it has gone under the total plus. So in addition to the reasons I stated, and the computer gives us a perfect system, yeah, well, we'll go with the under here.
That's pretty compelling. And, of course, we do remember last year, you know, a lot of these Philadelphia totals were in the stratosphere. And, you know, of course, early on they were explosively high scoring. They tend to go over. In the middle and the end of the season, we started to see a lot of much lower scoring games from Philly and a lot of games that went under by a lot. And I could easily see this happening again here for all the reasons that you stated. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com recommending a play on the under right now at 53.5. Thanks so much, Joe.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.